People. So let us bow down our heads and feel the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful night, though it is very hot and a humid night. We hope that you continue blessing all of us, dear Lord, all of us reviewees, and of course our facilitators and our reviewer, Maria, Ma'am Anna, for the wisdom. And we hope that you continue guiding all of us as we are now nearing the environmental planning licensure examination. We hope, Lord, that all those problems that we are encountering right now in our application for the board be settled soon, so that all of us will be given the opportunity to become the next environmental planners in our country. All of this we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Man, it's really challenging, ano, James? Yung ano, we don't
Oo
know
naman.
what's happening, and suddenly they require off the record. And suddenly they require ENPs as a signatory to your COE. Dati hindi naman. We will clarify that nicely, politely, professionally. Okay? So, sana si Mark. Anyway, ah i-hold nyo muna lahat until it gets resolved. Baka madamay yung papel natin. Okay. Anyway, I'll share my PowerPoint. Okay. So, be here. Okay. So, I think this was the last slide. This is the next slide. Regarding TSM. So, bibilisan ko na siya. Um, okay. Transportation system management has a focus on improving the efficiency of the existing transport network without requiring major capital investments or building new infrastructure. I think I mentioned this earlier, or last meeting. The strategies under TSM are typically operational in nature and aiming to make better use of what's already available. So, and that's why it's linked to um, investments, that it's not really indeed requiring so much investment. These are non-facility measures, meaning they don't rely on constructing new roads or rail lines. Instead, they involve low cost and short range improvements, such as optimizing signal timings, improving traffic flow through better lane assignments. Also, it involves prioritizing high occupancy vehicles and adjusting bus routes for efficiency. So the main idea is to address congestion and improve mobility by managing demand and maximizing capacity. For example, adjusting signal timing can improve throughput at intersections, while dedicated lanes for buses or high occupancy vehicles or HOVs um, that can reduce travel time and encourage mode shift. You can see a chart here, which include um, two important performance attributes, speed, speed and capacity. Okay. Um, so this graph explains that private vehicles on freeways can travel fast. You can see that, but they carry very few people, making them inefficient from a capacity standpoint. In contrast, urban rail systems and um, light rail, light rapid transit offer much higher passenger capacity per hour, even though their speeds may be moderate. Then buses using reserve lanes strike a good balance, offering relatively high capacity and competitive speeds when not mixed with general traffic. Okay, and so forth and so on. Uh, then I can proceed here. This is public transport improvement techniques. So we have a lot here under TSM. So, did we finish this before Jen or hindi ano? Tama lang ba?
Ah,
Ah,
tama lang po,
tama
ma'am.
lang po, ma'am. Okay. So improving public transportation is essential for making mass transit a viable alternative to private car use. The strategies under TSM for public transport improvement focus on enhancing the efficiency, reliability, and user experience of existing systems without the need for heavy infra investments. So we go first with with flow bus lanes. It's a concept. With flow bus lanes. They're dedicated lanes that run in the same direction as traffic flow. They help improve bus travel speed and reliability by shielding buses from congestion. This makes bus services more predictable and attractive to commuters. Also, contraflow bus lanes. They're designated lanes for buses running in the opposite direction of general traffic. These are often implemented in one-way street systems to maintain two-way bus operations without requiring major changes in road layout. Then we also have bus-only streets. Limit this technique limit access exclusively to buses and in some cases pedestrians. This is common in dense city centers to ensure uninterrupted bus movement while promoting walkability. Busways. It refers to grade separated or fully segregated lanes or corridors reserved only for buses. These provide the highest level of priority and speed, often functioning like rail systems, but with buses as the mode. Then, transport priority at traffic signals. It's a traffic engineering solution that adjusts signal timings to give priority to buses and trams at intersections. This can significantly reduce delays, particularly at critical junctions, and can be coordinated with GPS or smart signal systems. So, how about exclusive transit management strategies? These include organizational reforms such as rationalizing bus routes or coordinating schedules across operators or integrating bus and rail systems. These strategies are often policy or governance driven and aim to make transit more seamless and efficient. Transit fare reform, on the other hand, is about um, making policy or making public transport more affordable or attractive through discounts, um, or what we call the cap cap fares. Okay, CAAPED, capped fares or integrated pricing schemes. Lower cost can be a strong incentive for commuters to switch from cars to transit. Then, combination tickets simplify the use of multiple nodes such as bus, rail, or even ferry through a unified ticketing system. And this can take the form of smart cards or mobile apps that allow passengers to transfer seamlessly. So, how about free fare transit? It goes a step farther by removing the financial barrier entirely, while it requires government subsidies, like what we have during the pandemic and even after. So in the metro, in Metro Manila, so it can lead to significant mode shift and benefits in terms of reduced congestion and emissions. So, finally, joint dispatch or route sharing among bus operators allows multiple companies to serve the same routes under agreed rules. This prevents route monopolies and ensures efficient allocation of services without compromising revenue distribution among operators. So each of these techniques contributes to a more efficient and attractive public transport system. So still under TSM, it's the Bus Rapid Transit or the BRT. It's a high capacity, high efficiency public transport option designed to deliver metro level service using buses. It's built on the principle of dedicated infrastructure, usually lanes or corridors reserved exclusively for buses, often with platform level boarding and off-board fare collection to speed up operations. Compared to light rail systems, BRTs are generally more cost-effective to implement. They require less infrastructure investment because they use rubber-tired vehicles, di ba? And can operate on existing roadways. So those are the practical reasons and with minimal modification. However, for BRTs to function efficiently, two conditions must be met. First, dedicated lanes must be enforced, free from interference by private vehicles. Second, other competing bus services must be managed or rerouted to avoid undermining the BRT system's reliability and speed advantage. So cities that have successfully implemented BRT um, demonstrate the importance of treating BRT not just as a bus lane, but as integrated system. Um, so you can check actually which cities like when I was reviewing people face to face, um I normally mention Curitiba as an example of a successful BRT. And so this scheme includes or techniques or scheme include what features like modern stations and then real-time passenger information, frequent dispatch, and reliable service intervals. So the goal is to make the BRT experience comparable to rain. It's fast, it's predictable, and easy to use while keeping operational and capital costs significantly lower. When done right, a BRT system not only reduces congestion and travel time, but also reshapes land use and supports inclusive urban mobility.
Sa Cebu,
Then,
merong
Cebu meron?
sa Cebu po merong ongoing na BRT project ngayon, ma'am, pero hindi pa po tapos.
Hindi pa siya na-implement, no?
Oh.
Tingnan mo na una pa sila na, so we are looking forward to that, kung paano maging model siguro Release and it's of course it's a government project or PPP.
Hindi ko alam kung PPP ba yun, ma'am, pero
Papa,
parang kapwa na.
no?
Malapit na yun matapos siguro.
Talaga this year.
Mm. Baka po, ma'am.
Looking forward to that. So sana no, we can also implement in Manila pero hindi, hindi rin talaga. Rail siguro ano ang mas successful sa atin.
Ma'am,
Because
ma'am,
mm,
yung yung sa EDSA, di ba BRT yan? Mas
ah
rapid transit.
BRT ba ang EDSA?
Yes, ma'am, kasi
Or combine? Ah?
nag-apply ako niyan sa DOTC
Mm-mm.
for part ng para maging transportation engineer that time. That was 2012,
Mm.
I think, o 15,
Oh,
parang ganon. Tapos
yeah.
ang ano nga nila, yung EDSA is a BRT.
Oo. Uh,
Mas rapid
I
transit siya.
think so because ano siya no? Do kwan siya. It's NEDA din yun di ba? Kailan ba yung EDSA BRT?
Panahon po siya ni Marojas, ma'am. 2015, if
Oh,
I'm not mistaken, bago magtapos yung ah ni Digong, 2016. 2014,
oo.
2015.
Oo nga, no, because it's a non-rail siya, no?
Yes,
Mas,
ma'am.
oh,
BRT po yan.
I see. Uh, pero it's not really, can we say it's a good it's a, ano ba to? Tawag mo dito. So it's, is it a, a good model or namimit ba niya yung, yung sinabi ko kanina na mga elements niya, no? Na,
Yes, ma'am. So far,
um,
effective
so,
siya.
mm
Sobra lang talagang,
Trump.
kulang yung traffic.
Saka
Tapos
yung,
during that time kasi,
modern.
yung LRT, parang nabawasan kasi yung capacity ng LRT. That's why parang nag-ano sila doon sa Bus Rapid.
BRT
Parang,
pa yun.
yes, ma'am.
Siguro hindi ko siya na BRT because yung modernization siguro, no? Yung it needs modernization like hindi mo siya oo nga naman wala namang pero anong tawag mo dito? Yung ano na yung feature na sinabi ko kanina, 'di ba? Yung meron siyang
Yung
yung
with flow bus lanes, ma'am, yan po yun eh. Yung with flow bus lanes. Tapos
oo.
yung balak nga po nila, gawing counterflow. Ngayong taon lang yan na pag-usapan na yung para maiwasan yung mga pumapasok na ibang vehicle. Kaya gusto nilang gawing contraflow bus lanes.
Mm,
Yan po yung
talaga.
napag-uusapan ngayon na isusulong sana. Eh, hindi ko lang alam kung ano nangyari doon sa that was ma'am eh. Recently lang yung mga February,
Oo.
January to Feb na naging usap-usapan yan sa ngayon.
Mm. Tingnan ko nga ulit yung sinabi ko kanina mga niya. So, oo nga no. Yeah, I hope pero siyempre MMDA MMDA manage na yan na.
DOTR ang alam ko po, ma'am.
I mean yung of course yung governing policies ng BRT, di ba?
Yes po.
Hindi ba? Siyempre MMDA pa din kasali pa din ang transport no? For,
Yes po. Yung MMDA and DOTR.
Oo. Oo nga no. So it's not pero yung sa kaya sa Cebu na kamo is this paano kaya yung mga features niya no? Have you seen yung mga designs na or yung mga na nila? Is it better than
Yung meron pa rin siyang mga, pwede pa rin sa private cars sa gilid, ma'am. Pero meron lang talagang
nami-mix pa
dedicated
din
na
siya?
for bus lang sa gitna.
Mm. Kasi ang alam ko kasi sa BRT parang ano so it should ideally it should be dedicated for bus lang no? Uh, when hybrid na siya, medyo ano, pero hindi naman maiwasan na
Sa gitna lang yung sa Cebu, ma'am. Yung,
sa gitna.
oo.
Oh, I see. Sige nga, tingnan, i-research nga natin yung kung baka ilabas nila yung BRT na yan na question, na ano yung kanya, ano yung features, and then, when, so, ano yung upcoming project or yung malapit nang matapos. So I did not know about Cebu. Meron pala sa Cebu. So, okay. Sana tayo. Ito kanina, no? This one. Yan. So, ilang beses na tayong, mm, inaral itong hard measures. And so, by this time, we know that we're referring to physical infrastructure projects that are meant to either create new capacity or significantly reshape how movement occurs in an area. And this require more time and capital investment, but are essential for long-term naman or urban growth and sustainable mobility. So first, constructing a new road network is typically done in newly developed or urbanizing areas where the transport system needs to be built from the ground. So then, of course, the installation of traffic signalization system is a mid to long-term strategy that helps manage vehicle movement efficiently, especially at intersections. So ideally, these systems are responsive to demand, adjusting signal timings in real time based on traffic flow to reduce delays and improve safety. So also, third is providing shuttle system that should enhance connectivity between local communities and main public transport lines. And fourth, developing a bikeway um, system to promote non-motorized transport. So that's and of course development also of mass transit system, usually rail based. So it's a major long-term investment, but of course it addresses growing travel demand and designed to move large volumes of people efficiently. So I can see also there road widening. Okay, this was what I was trying to tell kanina nauna. Nauna kaysa dyan, sorry. Iba yung napindot ko. Yan yung ina-explain ko kanina. And then, there are also improving existing transportation infrastructure, road widening, road pavement, rehabilitation of existing traffic control system intersection. So you can check on this. So these are all easy to remember. Okay. Now, for policy instruments, there are policy instruments that support and regulate transport infrastructure. So there, HLURB, now this should provided these standards for transport infrastructure. They set the minimum requirements for right of way or road rights of way, sidewalk widths. Di ba nakuha na natin ito nung BP 2220 tsaka 957? And so also bike lanes also standard for that. and then hierarchy of streets in residential subdivisions and mixed-use developments. And these standards ensure connectivity, safety, and proper integration of transport and land use. So we look into this parking requirement in National Building Code and other guidelines. So, meron ito, i-check na lang natin yung different standards. Titingnan natin later if there are some update. Because here, so I mentioned about transport policy and initiatives. So, ano ba yung mga andyan? Coordinating relocation and resettlement. Merong ano no, na mga update like DSUD and DOTR just 2023 yata yun. These agencies signed an agreement to integrate land use and transport planning, and it focus on yung relocation and resettlement for communities affected by transport projects. So that's one. And then yung TOD areas in conjunction with LGUs. So that's another. And then like a collaboration between the two agencies. Also, ensuring integrated land use and transport planning for new estates and town development. So yung mga real estate practitioners, I'm sure you're familiar with this, especially so that yung mga parking requirements. Kasi meron ba dito? Sa, saan na yung parking? Sige. So, dyan muna tayo. Di ba yung sa National Building Code, okay, and it's IRR, for example, it says that low income single detached living units on lots not exceeding 100 square meters require pooled parking at a ratio of 1 slot per 10 units. Ganon. Tingnan ko nga, asan na ba yan? Hmm. Yan. Okay. Then, multifamily. Yan ba yan? Yeah, with an average floor area of 50 square meters. Necessitate one parking slot per 8. Okay. Per
Tama
8.
yan, ma'am. Yan
Yan
yung
pa din.
ginagamit namin sa condo, ma'am, eh.
I see.
Design.
Wala pa siyang update or anything?
Wala pa, ma'am. Yan din ang ginagamit pa rin.
Ginagamit niya. Okay.
Yeah.
Hotels, how about the hotels? That one parking slot per 10 rooms, parang ganun. Yan pa din? Na?
Um, Based on, ma'am, ganyan pa rin, ma'am, eh. Sa
Mm.
resorts, ganyan pa rin ang gamit namin. May mga ano lang like Antipolo, gusto nila 1:1.
Oo. That's parang parang dapat 1:1 talaga kasi hindi naman siya yung malayo siya. So, everyone, I mean, has car, di ba? And so 1:1 talaga yung, siguro yung mga 5-star and 5-star hotels, no?
Ah,
Ganun ba yun?
meron, ma'am, yung sa Boracay, walang requirement ng parking kung totoo kasi bawal lang sasakyan doon. Para
Ah,
grabe ang permit.
so, mga
So,
geographical standards,
yes,
May mga ganun.
depende talaga, ma'am, sa lugar. Pero
Pero
most of
ito,
in general
general.
po, yan
In
po.
general. Okay, please, baka lang kasi itanong ito, please familiarize yourself, okay? Yung mga parking standards natin, governed by National Building Code and its IRR. Ano pa ba? So, balikan natin ito. Tingnan nga ninyo, yung sa row pa rin, is housing classification. Okay. Road hierarchy and row requirements. So, it depends on housing classification. So, under 957 or 220 ba siya? And then, another standard is project size. Then road type, major ba to, collector, minor. So for example, under PD 957 for projects above 10 hectares, a major road should have a minimum right of way of 12 to 15 meters, while minor roads range from 8 to 10 meters. Is it correct? Am I showing the right slide? Okay. Ano pa ba? In BP 220 naman, which caters to lower, is it correct? Mali, ano? Ayan, so, yan pala. In BP 220, which caters to lower cost housing, minor roads are narrower. So, it's fixed at 6.5 meters raw, regardless of project size. Then specific roadway elements, no, below the table, the required widths for motor courts. So, kailangan, familiar din tayo dito, motor courts, alleys, and pathways. Okay? Applicable across 957 and 220. Like, motor courts, ano ninyo? 6 meters raw, then 5 meters carriageway. Is it correct? Okay. Yan. Ito nyo. And then, pathwalk, alis ba? 2 meters wide, used for emergency access or rear property access. So you must know the function and the dimensions and pathways. It's exclusive to socialized housing with a width of 3 meters and maximum length of 60 meters, meant solely for pedestrian circulation. The low and below is okay. Interior subdivisions must have access roads at least 10 meters wide, and this row must be annotated on land titles. Okay? And for subdivisions along public roads, there must be a 3-meter setback on both sides to allow safe passenger loading and unloading. And for phase or contiguous developments, a 10-meter interconnecting road must be provided. Also important is that the minimum right-of-way for minor roads is 6.5 meters. So, and then tapering road widths as the project progresses is not allowed. So, row must be consistent along major roads. If a road within the subdivision will serve as an interconnection, it must have at least 10-meter right-of-way with a gravel base course for proper load bearing. So why this matters? Of course, to us, these standards are not arbitrary, they're essential for ensuring connectivity, accessibility, safety, and future utility upgrades. So in our CLUPs and CDPs, and these are minimum thresholds we must observe, and they serve as baseline for negotiations with developers during subdivision planning and approval processes. So here, the planting strips, tapos na natin ito, and sidewalk widths. So, tapos na natin yan. And then pavement also. Pavement material standards that across all road types, like what are these? Major, minor, motor courts, alleys, sidewalks. The choice of materials is guided by functional needs and cost. Like PD 957 allows either concrete or asphalt for all road types, including alleys and sidewalks, while 220 uses macadam, which is less costly, gravel-based pavement for sidewalks, alleys, and motor courses to keep development affordable. Then, as to minimum pavement requirements to ensure durability, concrete pavement must be at least 150 mm thick with minimum compressive strength of 20.7 megapascals. Asphalt roads must be 50 mm thick, supported by the same compressive strength. For those non-engineers and physical planning practitioners, might be a bit ano ba 'yun? Ano ba yung kabaliktaran ng no-brainer, no? For engineers kasi siyempre parang alam na alam, lalo na sina Jumel, ano, you already know about this one. That for example, sidewalk pavements must reach the 17.2 megapascal in compressive strength. So these standards help ensure the roads remain serviceable over time, despite varying soil conditions and daily vehicle loads. Let's see this. Natapos na natin yan. So, for ano naman, yung, let's see, recent updates. For example, for the itong ano to, DSUD and the ILG updates. Do you think yan na yung pinaka-latest or meron ba akong hindi alam or 'di ba? So, yung DSUD, along with the ILG, has begun aligning transport infrastructure standards with climate resilience and active mobility goals. And this means new developments must now factor in walkability, bikeability, and safety, especially in urbanizing areas. They've also started integrating the complete streets approach. You remember complete streets approach? It's a concept, it's a framework also that ensures roads are designed for all users, okay? Not just cars. So this includes pedestrians, cyclists, public transport riders, children, seniors, PWDs. So it's now expected that planners will consider universal design principles and street layouts. Then this one proposed NBC, National Building Code requirements. So our amendments, because the proposed amendments wala pa namang to the National Building Code. It's is aimed at modernizing outdated parking requirements, along that context or within that context itong recent updates. So like parking ratio reforms, at least pinag-uusapan na natin ito, that the direction is to reduce excessive parking allocations that encourage private car use, particularly in high-density areas. And then another one is the incentives for car light developments. Okay. What does it say? That these include bonuses or reduced requirements for developments that integrate public transport access, like cycling facilities or walkable design. So the intent is to support urban forms that lessen reliance on cars, aligning with the principles of sustainability and compact development. Then there's the DOTR Active Transport Program. It has taken actually more aggressive role in promoting active transport through dedicated national programs. So there's now a nationwide push for protected bike lanes, not just painted lanes, but physically separated infra for cyclist safety. Also, end-of-trip facilities are also emphasized, such as securing bike parking, showers, what else? Charging areas ba or changing areas, or especially in commercial or institutional developments. So these upgrades are now considered essential infrastructure, not optional amenities. Then lastly, TDM, strengthening under EO 32 in 2023. EO 32 streamlines the permitting process for infrastructure, including transport projects. This helps avoid long delays caused by overlapping requirements from multiple agencies. So there's a renewed push for TODs, or the transit-oriented development and mixed-use communities. So local governments and developers are encouraged to build compact, walkable neighborhoods anchored on mass transit. This reduces the need for long commutes and spreads economic activity beyond traditional centers. So, actually, konti lang itong mga recent updates. So, I've done this already. Okay, so this ends the um, transport planning, and we tomorrow we will have long exam. Okay, and so after that we go to economic planning, and that would please just be ready with your scientific calculator, just in case lang wala pa ng announcement, but if hindi matuloy na may computation, anyway, you can use that for in preparation for in your ENP role, yung like as licensed ENP role. Okay, so please bring your scientific calculator. I will pause later. Ano yung mga inallow na mga scientific calculators in the past? Because 2024, they did not allow calculator, and we cannot be sure, we're not very certain if i-allow ngayon. Pero, you know what it means. Kapag ka i-allow, ibig sabihin, bibigay sila ng computation or math problems or stat, gano'n. Kapag ka sinabi nilang walang calculator, ibig sabihin, mga basic lang that you can multiply, you can divide, or you can perform yung mga basic functions manually. So, ganun lang yung meaning noon. Okay, so good luck. I'll end this one. I'll unshare. Okay. Ano yan? Stop share. Okay. So, Jen, take it away.